Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano.
And I'm Josh Elliott from the home of the 2016 Democratic National Convention here in Philadelphia, the city, oh, brotherly love. Fair to say anything but. Today, day one of the Democratic National Convention. Supposed to be a show of unity. In fact, the theme tonight here, Unity Together, but it kicked off instead with supporters of Hillary Clinton and of Bernie Sanders, in fact, fighting to be heard inside the Wells Fargo Center here.
That's right. It all comes after DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz announced she would be resigning at the end of the week following a massive email hack. Tens of thousands of leaked emails apparently revealed what Sanders supporters thought all along, that DNC officials were in Clinton's corner. Here to talk about what we can expect to see tonight, our CBS News contributor Bob Schieffer and senior editor of The Atlantic, Alex Wagner. All right, so Bob, first I have to get your thoughts on what it is that we have seen unfold here just over the last couple of hours. In some ways, a really remarkable scene to have these speakers at the podium essentially shouted down by Bernie Sanders supporters.
Well, I mean, it's even worse than that. Every time somebody says Hillary Clinton or Clinton aloud, you'll hear scattered boos, and sometimes they're pretty loud. I mean, I was just saying to Alex, if I got $100 for every time I've said, you know, these last 2 weeks, I never thought that would happen.
You'd be a rich man,
I'd be well
Bob.
On the way to, you know, investing in a hedge fund or something. It's just,
or running a hedge fund.
I had to say, I mean, Bob, when I saw you tonight coming in, I asked you how many times you've already said it today, and it's not, we're not overstating for effect. I also wonder, Alex, based on what we've seen here inside the Wells Fargo Center, it bears putting this in a bit of context. Today we saw Bernie Sanders address delegates of his. It was a stump speech until he essentially got to the part where he said, and we need Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine to be elected. We need to defeat Donald Trump. And he was booed by his own people. Now, it's far be it from me to say they were booing him. Perhaps they were just booing the sentiment. But I was also struck by his response to the uproar when he just said, brothers and sisters, this is the real world we live in. That is hardly, it was hardly an unqualified cry for unity.
It was literally up is down and down is up in this moment where Bernie Sanders, of all people, is calling for party unity and sort of urging his constituents to look towards electoral reality. That has not been a hallmark of this campaign thus far. And all respect to, you know, diehard Bernie Sanders supporters, but that is not the tenor he's struck with his supporters throughout this campaign. At the very same time, Donald Trump, or a few hours later, was saying to his supporters, I thought the RNC chair, Reince Priebus, did a great job. That's someone who has been in open battle with the Republican National Committee through the entirety of the primary process. If you cannot understate or overstate how much this whole convention process has been a trip through the looking glass.
Yeah. All right. So I want to actually show people what it is. This is sort of what has been going on behind the scenes. Senator Sanders sent out, both in a text form and also in an email form, a message to his delegates, given some of the discontent that we have seen. And I want to read you part of what it is that he said to his own delegates, okay? Keep in mind, these are his delegates. He said, our credibility as a movement will be damaged by booing, turning of backs, walking out, or other similar displays. That's what the corporate media wants. That's what Donald Trump wants. But that's not what will expand the progressive movement in this country. He goes on to say, I know everyone is frustrated, especially by the recent DNC email disclosures. But as a result of this disclosure, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign. This is a very positive sign. I would ask you as a personal courtesy, Bob, okay, this is what the email says. I would ask you as a personal courtesy to me to not engage in any kind of protest or demonstration on the convention floor. He is essentially using everything he has to appeal to his delegates not to, quote unquote, act up tonight.
It is kind of interesting, too, is that Donald Trump says we're all on the Democrat side, and Bernie Sanders says we're all on Donald Trump's side. I mean, what is this idea that this is not what the corporate media wants? I mean,
well, this has been part
I'm here to cover what they do.
Right? Sure.
I don't care what they do.
Sure.
You know, I'm here to cover the story.
But what about this notion, though, Bob, that in this arena, he is actually trying as best he can to assuage members of this so-called movement that he created. Is this bigger than just Bernie Sanders? Is he sort of not able to control what it is that he's created here.
Well, it's extraordinary. I mean, it's pretty clear they're not going quietly into the night. I mean, they aren't, and they're not satisfied yet. I don't know what else it is they want. I mean, they want Bernie on the ticket. He's not going to be on the ticket, but I don't know. They're just not happy about any of this. I mean, you know, what's interesting here, on the Republican side, the outsider won, and he was in the hall with the people that liked him. Here, the outsider lost, but his people are in the hall, and they don't like it.
It's interesting. I wonder, is it your sense, though, that he could have done more, that Bernie Sanders, knowing the powder keg, that he was sitting atop, that, you know, and I was actually struck even yesterday. There was no dancing on Debbie Wasserman Schultz's grave from Bernie Sanders. He said, it doesn't surprise me, I've been saying this for months, but we're moving on. He had arguably the most measured response of anybody involved. But then to get here tonight, when you're, I wonder, reduced to posting on Facebook and sending emails on the off chance that somebody's going to look down at their phone while on the convention floor, to be told not to turn your back or and otherwise act what would, I guess, appear to be disrespectfully. Was there more that he could have done before tonight?
Well, I mean, do you want to say something, Helen?
Well, I think two things happened that have increased frustrations probably exponentially. The first is, of course, the DNC hack, which has confirmed a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters' suspicions about nefarious institutional plots to keep him off the ticket. But the second thing is the choice of Tim Kaine as Hillary's running mate. Throughout this primary process, she has been playing footsie with the sort of progressive base and saying, I've moved left. And then she's picked for her running mate someone that I think the progressive base sees as a centrist Democrat, perhaps even a conservative Democrat. And that, again, has sort of affirmed their suspicions that Hillary's not truly moved left. And now you have all that steam coming to a head at this particular moment. And to your point, Josh, you know, Sanders has refused to back down all the way up until this particular moment. And now all of a sudden he's saying, hey, let's make peace with the governing majority. That's a difficult line to hew.
You know, I think if Bernie Sanders was going to do something to try to calm all this down, he would have done it a long time ago. I mean, it's been known for quite some time now that he was not going to get the nomination. It was numerically impossible, and yet he continued to say, you know, he was still in the race. He wouldn't close down his campaign. I mean, I've always thought that basically he was waiting to see if she was going to be indicted on the email thing, and he was not going to suspend his campaign until he knew one way or another about that. Maybe that's true, but maybe that was his motivation, maybe not. But the fact is, he hung around for a long, long time. If he wanted to really calm this down in that party unity, I think he should have done it some time ago.
So go ahead. Well, what does he need to say tonight, do you think? I mean, what do you think his message needs to be? Alex, I'll start with you. As he speaks to these delegates.
I think you have to have like a sort of three-part message. He's going to deliver the appetizer. Michelle Obama is going to deliver maybe the entree, and then Elizabeth Warren is going to be charged really, truly, I think, with tying this up with a bow in terms of calming his supporters and getting all the ducks in a line. You know, I think Bernie Sanders' speech is going to dwell a lot on Donald Trump and the threat he poses to the country, because at this point, I think the argument that Hillary Clinton is one of them in terms of the Sanders sort of ideology, I don't think that can be made with his supporters. I think it is all about the looming threat of Donald Trump, and that they must, in worst case scenario, hold their nose and support Hillary to prevent Donald Trump from being in the Oval Office.
I think one of the interesting questions is going to be, is he going to mention the name Donald Trump more than he mentions the name Hillary Clinton? And we ought to, keep a tally of that. And what is this crowd's reaction going to be when he mentions the name Hillary Clinton? Are we going to hear boos at that time? I mean, we heard them this afternoon. Will they not do that when they're in prime time here? I don't know the answer to that question right now, but we'll find out.
And I wonder about the context with regard to Senator Warren, who will have spoken prior. Will she have soothed the savage beast that really has lurked on that convention hall to this point? I also wonder, and am struck by, the mirror image now of the Republican convention that we are seeing. For all the talk, perhaps, that this was going to be something different, this was going to be forward-thinking, unity together. which seems a bit redundant, but
I believe it is redundant.
I think that's fair. That just as Hillary Clinton was the one unifying force in Cleveland, might now Donald Trump, and Bob, it's something we've spoken about, the idea of the binary choice, but really the referendum. Who's this going to be a referendum on? Will they settle on the safe choice of evoking Donald Trump, if only to keep the extreme reactions to a minimum?
Well, I mean, there's no question that the Republican strategy, the Donald Trump strategy, is based on one thing and one thing only: drive up Hillary Clinton's negatives. If they can make her seem worse than him, then they win. Okay? And a lot of people are telling the Clinton people they got to do the same thing, that's got to be their strategy as well. So I think we're going to hear a lot about Donald Trump tonight. I mean, from everybody, because I think that probably is going to be at least part of the Clinton strategy. One would hope that both campaigns would find some time to talk about what they're for and what they can do. But, this is an election campaign unlike anything that any of us, I think, have ever seen. So God knows.
Who knows? Who knows?
There you go.
The Bob Schieffer
There you go,
refrain.
Bob Schieffer.
I got another $100 because I said it again.